starting the meeting in workshop format, which means we can take no official action. So we can't vote on anything, like the agenda. But we can talk about the minutes if anyone has any additions or corrections to the minutes. I have a few, Kathleen, if I can find it. On the second page of the minutes, under historic cemeteries, the second sentence says there are grave, it should be plural, or, wait a minute, should be a grave, it's one grave of 2 Union soldiers. And so it means, it's more meaningful, it should say, near Noonanville Cemetery. That makes more sense, I think. And I think I've got one other. In the same paragraph, referring to the cemetery in Marion County, it says Planters Cemetery. It's actually the Hickson, Hickson, Hickson Cemetery. Does anyone else have any additions or corrections to the minutes? No. Okay, we'll move on. We don't seem to have any citizens to comment. So we don't have any citizens to address us. So we're going to talk about the things on the agenda without voting on anything. Under new business, the County Commission moved to direct staff to place historical markers to get information out to the public to commemorate the information from the Historical Commission presentation. So Kathleen, can you tell us how that went down? I didn't see it. Or what is it they specifically want from us? To produce a number of markers or exhibits?
Well, Nicole, of course, she made the reading, and it was very well received, very well presented, and very well received. Commissioner Alford, who made the motion, of course, it's given on the agenda. I did check with our Assistant County Manager, Gina Peebles, and she thought that an interpretive panel at Tuscaloosa would be an appropriate way to convey this information, if that's what our group think is best.
Just one? I was going to say, if you're going to do 3 readings, one interpretive panel will not be enough to get that much information. Or
yeah, and there's the Patano and the Tamaqua and the Seminole, so I would say 1 for each.
Okay.
What I think piqued Commissioner Alford's interest was when I talked about San Velasco. Being a corruption of San Francisco de Patano, that's where U.S. Archaeology knows of the site where the mission was at San Velasco. And as I mentioned to her, I give my students an extra credit assignment to find Patano talked about in Alachua County. No one's ever found it. So that would be, to me, the first one. To say, hey, let's get one done that addresses them. San Velasco or even here downtown would be a great place for it. Then definitely with Tuscaloosa, I would say 1 on the Seminole, because that's directly related to the Seminole tribe. And then we could talk about Tamaqua, where that would be appropriate. But if we want to be inclusive, also, who, I think it's Charles or Jim Powell, or no, Ashley. Ashley was the one in Evanston that talked about.
That's right.
There's another mission, Benaventura. There's another mission that was more toward Ocala, more towards Orange Lake than the Gainesville mission, so there were 2 missions for the Patano. So that might be a good one either for the Tamaqua as well, so, those would just be my options. And then I just need to know what to do to, what to start working on these. I'm in talks with a guy at UF who is retaining the Tamaqua language, and he said he'd be very happy to help out with finding whatever evidence we need. So, I just need to know, like, what steps to take next, you know, what guidance there is, what we need to do, who's gonna pay for them, if we need to do fundraising, since the city commission, I'm hoping, said, hey, why don't you guys do this?
It sounds like the county commission will address, they have a sign shop, right?
Well, we do have a sign shop. I think that group works on signs such as road signs, but I think Gina Peeble said that there would be some county funding. I guess I need to get a budget.
Yeah, I think it's hard to know, you know, I'm, in my mind, I'm thinking of these things that are like this, and they sit up there and they're they're weatherproof or whatever, people can come see them, versus a historical marker type of thing.
Okay.
Kind
of like at the parks where they have the informational?
Yeah, like that. I think,
A little bit of a roof over it to protect or not?
I assume they make those so that they're not that impacted by the weather.
Yeah, the most recent ones I've seen in parks don't have a roof, they're just made for weathering.
Right, Gwen, okay.
But I'm happy to, start on the text, I'm happy to come before the board and we can all vote on locations. You know, I'm fine with making this a group effort, and,
Yeah, you'd have to have some idea of, like, how much text would
What
fit.
is it, how many characters or?
Yeah,
you know,
something like that. And probably some sort of visual, graphic or something like that.
Yeah, there's great, visually, there were these engravings from the 1560s, this French, cartographer did these engravings of the Tamaqua, which are fantastic. And those would be my recommendation, because they give a good visual of, like, a barbacoa, barbecue, where they have, like, alligators and snakes and deer.
Yummy.
And you're like, yeah, this is what life was, right?
Yeah.
And another one was, they had this kind of, a little building with windows all around it for one person to sit in, to see when the alligator was coming to town. And like blowing a whistle, and everyone who would come out with their sticks and, you know, kill an alligator, like.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's some good visuals out there that I think could be used.
So Kathleen, do you think you could look into what something like that would, how big it might be, or, I assume they're used in parks and.
The Micanopy, Forts and Battles just put up some big panels in the Micanopy Battleground Preserve or something, and they paid a lot of money for them, but they're pretty extensive.
Are they vertical?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so,
These are vertical panels then?
yeah.
You're talking about the LeBrye drawings?
The what?
The LeBrye drawings,
I think it's Lemoyne, maybe?
okay, they're together.
Where are the panels going?
There, when you go to Micanopy, if you come around the curve going back down to 441, like, because you're in Micanopy in the downtown, and then you just continue down Chilaka Boulevard, which is the main street, and then you curve back over to 441, they're gonna be on your left.
Okay, I'll just go check them out this weekend.
And they're in the battlegrounds, and they paid for them themselves, so they know the price.
Okay.
And they
I
put,
think that has a little roof over it, don't I, like about a foot and a half each side?
that part I don't remember.
Yes, it does. And
Well, that would keep the water off.
I thought I had shared that with you. I apologize, but I can share the photo.
Oh, you might have already shared it, I just
Yeah.
haven't been, I wanna visually, like, see what we're talking about, that. Then we can look at the characters and the,
Yeah, see how much information we get out. Okay.
And, you know, there's pictures and text.
So, the investigation begins.
and then we'll come up with, like I said, I'm happy to talk about, one, where to put them, and then we can all collaborate on, like, I can give, like, here's the text, and then you can all.
Put it on the site of Dollar General in Micanopy.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
No, don't give them any ideas.
No, then they can build, because there'd be a monument there.
So, Gwen, to bring you up to speed, since we don't have an
Thank you.
in-person quorum, we're running this in workshop mode,
Okay.
which means we can't take any official action, votes, or anything like that. So,
We can chat about.
The traffic is we it's gridlock.
really,
in 3 different spots. Luckily, I was like, just go through campus. I know we
Really?
have to go 20 miles an hour, but yeah. And I left early and,
maybe there's a wreck or
yeah,
something.
I don't know what's going on. Nothing's on I-75, but as soon as we got to Williston Road, it stopped. So people are turning around.
There's gotta be a wreck or
Yeah.
something. It's usually not that bad.
No.
Situation.
Or, yeah, like on 39th the other day.
So, the investigation of this will be getting started. The next thing is an inquiry from Kevin Boldenau. He's a photographer, and Kathleen sent a map out to show you where these houses, there were pictures in there, and he put these pictures out in a Facebook group as well. And, he also sent them to me. And, where they're located, across from what was the Gates battery plant or the GE plant, and now it's San Francisco Tech City. Some of that land was owned by the Hales, but to me, that might be, could have been a tenant house or if it's old enough to be a cabin for an enslaved person. The other one looks just like a house. I mean, it doesn't strike me as being a plantation house.
No, but that looks more like a camp for turpentining or phosphate,
Yeah.
like a city store for that. These are in Hague?
Well, it's,
A little
trying to-
further along US 441.
north, a little north.
Do you have a map, Kathleen?
Yeah, she shared a map
You don't have it yet.
in the email.
Here, unfortunately. If you know where the new San Francisco Tech City
Yeah,
property
totally.
is, it's on the opposite side of US 441 there.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's on
Phoenix.
the east side.
west side.
And to the west.
So it's across from.
Yeah, it's on the west.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I know I've been on a tour inside the San Francisco Park. I was with
There's a whole.
a historian looking, there was a really old letter that referred to graves, and it's some of the original settlers along there. So we were there looking, but there were these sites where there had been a farmhouse, for instance. So I really don't know, what it is. I mean, he could do some deed research or something, though it would be difficult.
How far off of 441 are these buildings?
I don't think he said.
'Cause I go by there almost every day, living up,
Yeah, I don't think
Up
you
that
can
way.
see them from the road.
You don't notice them from the road easily.
But the Phelans had a lot of land in that area, Arch Hague, the Hales had a lot of land there, so it's hard to know. I'm be the last person on earth to look at one of these and date it, especially from a black and white photo.
Yeah.
I get no sense of scale with them on that one, but, and the people on this Facebook group really didn't have they didn't offer any information.
What was the group?
Oh, gosh, I belong to it's a history group.
Yeah.
narrows it right down.
Florida Pioneers, there's,
Oh, okay.
I haven't
belong to
seen that one, so.
Historic Florida. There's
Well,
a
how
bunch
about the Forgotten Florida?
there's Forgotten Florida. I just don't remember
Yeah.
which one he put it on. Sometimes he posts all of them, so. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the next continuing business is this Truth and Reconciliation. Did anyone attend the, soil ceremony?
I did.
Soil collection ceremony?
Yeah, I attended online, I couldn't get there physically, I haven't figured out how to clone myself.
It was,
I was there as well.
okay.
Very moving.
It was well done. The next step for the Gainesville group will be in a few months when the marker goes in. So,
Marker going.
Yeah.
Where's the marker going?
we don't know yet.
Gwen, that's Deirdre on the call.
Oh, huh.
And I did see Dan Weissman at the oil collection.
Yes. I thought it was very well attended,
Yeah, Dan
and they had, I think, just, 100 programs printed up that had the whole history that, Assistant Manager, Carl Smart read. Even though it was long, I think it was very impactful in terms of people knowing the truth of what happened. And he also, you know, at the end of each one, he would say, and something to the words effect, and no one was held accountable. And you hear that over and over and over again. And then the filling of the jars was very, I think it was a good thing that the subcommittee decided, like at Newberry, to let everybody participate in that.
Yeah.
The jars did get filled up pretty quick, though.
Well, I'm really pleased that people are, because I brought this up 20 years ago, and people were like, that didn't happen. So I'm really glad that actually, people are actually acknowledging that it has happened and we're doing something about it.
Yes.
Where's the museum, Huntsville or Montgomery?
Montgomery, the Legacy Museum,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine how many jars they have now. So one,
Student go there last semester and send photos.
yeah,
And
it's
so Alachua just had the people, so now they'll have the jars.
the jars. In fact, the monument for Alachua County only has something like 19 names on it, and our list right now is at 47.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
I've gotta find the one I printed out.
the Equal Justice Initiative, their initial research began with the end of Reconstruction and ran to 1950. So they didn't use,
They didn't use anything from the civil rights stuff?
they didn't use, no, they didn't use anything during Reconstruction because, for one thing, there's not a lot of newspapers still around, so the source material was somewhat scarce. But in our case, thanks to Keith Ballum, who's passed away, but he was the historic Melrose president, he found this testimony in 1871, and it was sworn testimony in Jacksonville. A House and Senate committee went into the South investigating the outrages, and that's when Leonard G. Dennis and I think Lemuel Wilson, a couple people, but mostly Leonard G. Dennis provided this long list of names. So EJI has allowed those names. They do generally to have someone added to the list, to be added to the monument, they have to have two sources. The crime had to have been perpetrated by more than 3 or 4 people. But they did allow the Lester Watts murder. That was 2 people.
I don't understand that.
They did allow that.
Because that was like a personal confrontation. It wasn't a
It was
lynching.
racially motivated.
But it was, but the guy had a trial. The murderers had a trial.
Yeah, but it was,
But
one
that-
of them was exonerated and went into the service, and the other
Right.
one was found guilty of sentenced to 5 years, and we don't know if he ever,
But they still had
completed
a
it.
trial.
And they were held accountable.
Like,
Well,
the-
Innocent or not, that's accountability.
the point is that EJI accepted those.
it doesn't make sense to
Murdering
me.
somebody and going in the military, might have historically been accountability, but I
Yep.
think we've changed what we
Right.
consider
Yes.
accountability now.
But for example,
So-
Lizzie Jenkins wants to get her
No.
people included.
They
And-
were executed, they were given a trial, and then they were legally executed.
But these people were convicted and they were given sentences.
No,
One person was
no, there's a difference in who the victim was.
There is?
Well, I don't want to get into the EJI. It's in the, packet that you have from the steering committee.
Okay.
It needs to
Actually,
be,
when I talked to the Watts, they actually told me we don't know why we're included.
one of the basic reasons is that Dr. Hilliard Nunn
That's what she said.
was very adamant that they be added.
She said Dr. Hilliard Nunn wanted us to be added, and so we don't know, we don't
And
qualify.
then she had to have had,
She
reason.
had,
There's a lot of documents.
she's been working with the
that she
family
has
for years.
Right.
that I don't
So-
think we know about all of her work because of her
Yes.
sudden passing.
And they don't know either. They
Uh,
said to me, we don't know why we were included.
Well, that's all water under the bridge at this
Yeah.
point, okay? They accepted Lester Watts for the soil collection, and it was very moving that his descendants were there, coming all the way from, California.
wow.
So,
St. Petersburg.
so the next subcommittee that is going to be having a soil collection ceremony will be the Alachua Noonanville group.
Good, okay.
Okay.
And when
moving
will
on.
that?
When's that
Oh,
gonna
we
be?
don't know yet,
Okay.
okay? The subcommittee is, part of the thing is, the soil ideally would come from the site of the lynching. And that's not always possible to determine because of the lack of the records. A lot of these newspaper articles only say it happened near Rochelle or near here. Some were very explicit, like the 3 people who were lynched in Gainesville at the Savage Lot. So you've got a range of locations. So EJI will accept representative locations. So anyways, they're still working on that. And like Newberry had more lynchings than the Newberry 6, but they chose for the soil collection purposes just to focus on the Newberry 6. So it's up to the subcommittee. All right. But when those dates are known, it will be publicized by the county. There is also a Facebook page for the Truth and Reconciliation. I think it's called the Alachua County Remembrance Project. Community Remembers. Yeah, Alachua County Community Remembers Project. If you search for that on Facebook, you'll find it, and they post events as well. The next is the County Commissioner's request for the biographies, the county commissioners, former county commissioners. Melanie?
Yeah, and so I did see Hutch today. We didn't get much accomplished, but it's just having my sister's stuff all over the place and having to go to Tallahassee over and over and over and over and filling out paperwork and forms and managing her financial affairs.
Okay.
It's overwhelming.
I understand completely.
Good, because it's shocking to me, all the stuff you have to do.
So,
And what I have found out, excuse me,
go ahead.
I contacted LaToya Gainey in the county commission office, and she explained that she doesn't have, postal addresses for them. She did say she'll check if she has emails, but usually they would use their own emails, I mean, a county email, I should say. So she mentioned that maybe human resources. I am a little hesitant to make the request to county human resources. There's probably some policy that will apply. I just don't know if that's the right approach to this research. I did find out we can now access the microfiche at the public library.
Okay.
You have to contact the reference desk and set up an appointment. But it is now open for appointments. And of course, on the ancient records site, you can search. You do find a lot of records and have to, read through. I have to mention very early of the airboats being discussed on, Noonan's Lake was interesting, because recently there's been so much
Right.
work on that.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that the Matheson is reopening April,
Second,
I think it's they're gonna be open, what, Fridays and Saturdays? Oh, it's the one right before Easter,
by appointment.
by appointment.
Yeah, Easter's April 4th,
So it'll be second and third.
right?
And they'll have, I think, a limit of 12 people in the museum and fewer for a tour of the Matheson House. That just came out today, but at least they're going to reopen so we could access, their library.
Your new sign looks really good.
Oh, you saw it? Yeah.
It looks fantastic. I love the fact that it's wood.
It's cypress
Yeah.
wood. Our visitor center sign fell apart at the homestead, so we got a new one, went in today. Okay, so Melanie, work on that as you can,
If I can,
yeah.
trying to do it, I talked to Hutch today, but.
So, I noticed that some of them are broken apart, as in their service, like Penny's served 16 years and Hutch has done 11. But I'm not sure, I don't think Phyllis is still with us. And, Levita, Jim, Levita is still, Jim Notestein.
I have information from him.
Okay, cool. I've seen Petty recently. John Warshaw, I believe he's still open but not doing, practicing law anymore, but I think he's still around.
Yeah, she says Friday, April 2nd.
Yeah, and it would be good to talk to any of the ones that are still alive and get them to do their
That's what
bios.
I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
They know what they wanna brag
right,
about.
right, exactly.
Because it can't go on and on.
No,
And
and you might wanna, can we give them like a word limit? I've had a deadline that was in September and I finally turned it in. I'm like, yes, I can do this.
that's kind of like where I'm going right
Yeah,
now.
I understand, 'cause my dad passed away in October, and I had no idea all this stuff was gonna
Yeah.
take so long, and now I'm in a holding pattern, so,
And he probably had a house. My sister
Good.
just had an apartment.
yeah.
I keep getting boxes and boxes, and I think I'm done bringing them in my house.
Okay.
I look in my back seat, and there's more boxes.
Yeah.
So Melanie, you've got some ideas as to how to
Right.
research some of these. And it doesn't sound like it's on fire,
No, it's not a really.
given no deadline.
No, not a high priority at all. That's why I'm not concerned that I'm not getting it done, but at the same time, I am doing little tiny bits on it every time, trying to work for it. I mean, the
Okay.
caterpillar gets where it's going.
All right.
Not a bunny rabbit, but it gets where it's going.
Oh, I hear you.
Okay, moving on, the history readings, I guess Nicole's going to be, you're gonna do 3 in succession?
Executive?
How often do they occur?
Kathleen, every,
In the past, it would be
once a quarter?
approximately quarterly.
So once every 3-4 months?
Yeah,
Oh, that works out perfect, 'cause April, my commission's up, so I figure if they re-up me, then I'll do one in May.
there you go.
Okay, if you want me, 'cause that's how I ended the talk, I was like, if you want me to keep doing this.
That's right, reappoint me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. State markers, we still have,
I haven't had a chance yet to check on the Stingle field marker. I saw something online that Mary Reichart previously worked for marketing at Butler. I don't know if she's left. I need to check on that. But I also mentioned to Karen, Carolyn, Traxler-T-Straight worked on 3 markers late last year. Well, through the summer, we worked with her, and they were reviewed by the State Marker Council, and I understood that they were approved, subject to some minor edits. But Carolyn says she's never received anything in writing from the state, so I need to check if that has not occurred, or maybe they're stuck in junk mail filter, but I'm gonna work with her and try to complete that.
Okay. I'll touch base with the pastor at, Fort Clark Church to see where they've gotten on their marker.
Are they gonna change it?
Oh, that one is, about Fort Clark. This is about their church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this,
And there's also that cemetery that,
yeah, it's right, it's their, they manage that cemetery, and their marker would go not out on the, not with the Fort Clark marker. I mean, that marker's not near the actual site of Fort Clark.
where do you think it is?
It's further to the east, off of Northwest 80th.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would want theirs like on 91st there. That way, plenty of space for people to pull over and read it.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't really do that on, Newberry Road.
What about, having it placed in that parking lot that abuts the cemetery? So that's a safe
That's
place
there.
to turn off and
Yeah,
get off
that's-
the road, 'cause that's
That's their
turned into a
property.
major intersection.
Yeah,
now.
that's their property. So, yes.
Actually, I was thinking about the historic reading. Last month, you talked about you haven't had anything to do yet, right?
Well, I mean, you complain.
Well, it sounded like a complaint. It sounded like a complaint to me. Why don't you
I can
loop
read
in,
well, but, you know, so
why
what?
don't you loop in with, the readings? I can do one, maybe you can do the May one, and then I'll do the next quarter, and it'll give you something to start
Yeah, you
doing.
give me the text and make sure I pronounce things right, we can go over it a few times.
No,
No, you write your
the
own.
text. You pick something of
Pick-
your interest.
pick your
and that's
topic,
what
yeah.
I'm doing.
I'm pretty new to the county yet for doing that.
Yeah, I just did my first one. This was my total first one.
You're a professor.
I am. That's
I'm a
correct.
retired guy that used to shut people's electricity off when they didn't pay.
There you go, right about that.
Okay,
I know,
so-
and here are you,
I guess that's a no for now.
from
Oh.
another state.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Would you be interested, or what would
Yeah.
you like to start working on?
I'd be willing to read before the committee, I mean, I'm an actor, I do that, so I can read pretty well.
But you have to write it though.
Yeah, so like, you got like 2
I'd
months.
have to have a subject and figure it out, so maybe.
Yeah,
Think
so
about it.
Think
about a topic.
You're interested in Alachua County, right? So, maybe next time we meet, you can be
Yeah.
like, hey, this is what I'm interested in.
I'll see if I can figure out something about it.
Yeah, think about a
You're
topic.
Towards Alachua, right?
Yeah, right near
So-
Hague,
Okay.
in Turkey Creek.
Ah, okay.
And the old battery plant now grows marijuana inside it.
Well, there's San Velasco Tech City is
That's a
there.
little further on, that's another quarter mile or more.
Yeah.
And the developer of that, I was told, actually asked, what do I do when I find graves?
He did find graves. I've been
Yes.
up to my eyeballs in that particular issue.
And
And
there's a
speak
black
to the
of them
county
out here.
commissioners about that. The long and short of it is, it was an African-American cemetery related to a church that was called St. John's, that the WPA misclassified as a white church, but every trustee, I looked on every deed, is black. There were probably, I talked to somebody who talked to an elder, it was a 1.32 acre cemetery, which was assigned its own parcel number, so they should have known, that it was there before the bulldozer came. They did follow a legal process to, exhume some of the bodies. They originally wanted to move them to another cemetery, and that was quite objectionable, and several people raised that concern. It ended up that there were, the last I heard, 10 burials that were being moved to a different part of the same cemetery. And the developer will be putting a fence around it, wrought iron fence, and sodding over it and making it like a memorial park. So it's, a better situation than it was initially.
Well, the Alachua Chamber had mysteriously 4 stones appear one day in their, building.
Headstones?
Yeah, were they related? They don't know where they are, or who they came from, but
Well, you can take the headstones and then find a grave and then.
I researched the people buried there. I've been on site
Good.
with archaeologists, and at the time they had found 2 graves, I found 2 more. But now they hired another archaeology firm that used ground-penetrating radar and peeled away the top layer of the soil so they could see the discoloration of the grave shafts, and found a total of 10. So, yeah, a magnifying glass was shined upon them, and it had a better outcome.
Good.
Maybe I need to start looking at the maps a little bit more and pointing things out. Like, they were like, what do you mean there were blacksmiths in town? And I went on all the maps and found the different ones.
You were saying this to who?
So, somebody had asked me about it, when it was involved with what they're doing with the Jesse Aarons and Seminary Lane and that whole area.
Okay.
'Cause there have to be blacksmiths next to the railroad. That's just
Okay, but
kinda
this-
understood.
I thought you were talking about in relation to the cemetery up in the...
No,
No.
I haven't looked at that, no, but I've been looking at a lot of maps.
There are, even Google Maps will show you the location of some of the historic cemeteries. I recently, in fact, this is a good segue into the historic cemetery thing. I can update you on the project that I've been working on with FPAN. And that is getting all of the cemeteries, in particular focusing on African-American cemeteries, on the Florida Master Site file. I've got 3 to go in the mail tomorrow.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
since last month when I reported, we have submitted, and that includes the 3 that I just finished that are going in the mail, a total of 7, and 6 of those were African-American cemeteries, and there's 1 where it was the Waldo Community Cemetery I worked on, and it turned out it wasn't under the name Waldo Community Cemetery, it was under the name US 301 Cemetery.
Okay.
So when Nigel checked for it, he's looking for the name that it's called. So, the master site file people, submitted it as, made it an update. So I always do research. In this particular case, there were 2 black Union soldiers buried there, and I thought that was significant. So all of that documentation was added to the file. So we've been moving right along on these, cemeteries. The ones going out tomorrow are the Shiloh Baptist Church Cemetery in Archer, the Means Cemetery in Archer. I went there with Lizzie Jenkins last week. And believe it or not, its real name is Oak Ridge Cemetery.
Which is a duplicate of the cemetery
Yeah.
in Rochelle.
Right. So, so I put it under Means/Oak Ridge.
Okay.
It's a relatively newer cemetery, and then we went down this trail, because Lizzie said, somebody told me there might be some graves along this old road, and there weren't. There was a cemetery at the end of it that Lizzie Jenkins, who lives in Archer, never knew about. And she found the graves of people she'd interviewed while they were alive, and she was just really overcome by that. So that is the Strong McGinnis Cemetery.
Now, is that the slave cemetery that's out in Archer?
No.
'Cause that one's, I was talking to a friend and asking her about Pineville. And
Right, that's on,
she lives actually off of Redbird Road and has for a long time. But she was telling me about a woman with the last name of Griffiths that told her about the slave cemetery in Archer.
I don't know which one they'd be referring to. When I was researching Shiloh,
She said it was by the baseball park.
that is Bethlehem ME Cemetery.
Okay.
Okay, it has people who had once been enslaved buried there.
Okay.
And by the way, there is a cemetery cleanup on March 27th, starting at 9.
9, and I'll send that information via email.
Good.
Yeah.
That's at the
Is-
Archer Methodist Episcopal Cemetery. The Pinesville Cemetery cleanup, we think will be April 17th, but that has to be confirmed.
Right. So in researching the Shiloh Baptist Church, it shows up on the WPA records. It says it was constituted in 1870. However, the cornerstone says 1867. It doesn't matter. But it says they met in a brush arbor at the old cemetery site until 1872. So we haven't found that old cemetery. In documenting Shiloh, which is probably 230 graves, okay, it's quite big. The
That's
oldest,
the one that's right off of the road, right by the Baptist church?
yeah, it's right behind the Baptist church.
Okay.
That one, the oldest grave I found was 1945. So either there's another cemetery.
Because Annabelle Leitner was talking about there's another one that's in McIntosh. But Shiloh went by another name when they were younger, and
Well, this one's in Archer. There was also a Shiloh church that was right near the Noonanville Black Cemetery. I just found that.
Well, here's the problem, there's Shiloh area near Micanopy.
Right, that's what.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, and there's
And so
also
that's in the McIntosh, Micanopy area.
and there's a Shiloh, Marion County, Alabama.
The WPA records are very specific about this one. It is in Archer.
Okay.
And the people who were shown as like the clerk, at the time, his last name was McKinney, Perry McKinney. And he's, related to Albert McKinney, who was an ancestor of Roberta Lopez, who runs the, Bethlehem, BME, the Cemetery Association. And Albert McKinney was on the cottonwood plantation and was known to blow a ram's horn to call people to work every day.
Wow.
And he was a blacksmith, by the way.
Thank you.
So, anyways, we've been really moving along before the, snakes came out, which was the point of getting into these,
Did you see the
rural-
snakes?
not this time.
Oh.
My kids said they saw one today,
Oh, yay,
Where?
here they come.
just by my house.
Firehouse.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute, April 12th, that's our next meeting. Professor Marty Hilton will join us by Zoom, I assume, to do his, presentation on the Bethlehem ME Cemetery and the work that they've done out there. My understanding is the ground penetrating radar results are coming shortly. I was out there with, Roberta Lopez 2 weeks ago, and we found another grave, which we think is on the GPR, so we can confirm that or not. We were very excited, because it was at the base of the tree, we saw a rock, and it just had an edge on it, which led us to dig a little bit. Anyways, any questions about the cemetery project?
Thank you for your post on Facebook for showing like the before and after.
That one I did,
Amazing.
the, Julia Terry, that was in Shiloh. I didn't say on Facebook where it was, but it was completely black, and in the master site file submissions, they asked for some pictures of distinctive markers. And in terms of that cemetery, that one was very distinctive. It was marble, it was beautifully carved, but it was black. So I always keep my water jugs in my D2, my soft brushes in my car, so it got cleaned.
It was amazing.
I usually forget to do a before picture.
Yeah, it was black and nothing, like it was just black,
Yes.
and then it was like all the information.
And it will continue to whiten on its own.
Oh, wow.
That's what
Okay.
D2 does.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it'll be, I didn't clean the back of it though, so it'll look like black on one side and white on the other. But yeah, that was a really good result. the teaching history.
Hi, I do have a question. Has anybody looked
We don't
into
really have
Rutledge?
The staff
Can you hear
report
me?
Kathleen sent, do you wanna go over that for us, Kathleen, please?
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
That I filed in writing, I will include when shared today via email concerning, a turpentine
Yes.
bill. And also, Mike sent some information, an article written by Murray Laurie about yellow fever.
Mhm.
But I also wanted to mention that the public hearing for the designation of Tuscaloosa Road as a county scenic road will likely occur on April 13th at the 5 o'clock meeting of the county commission.
Okay.
And I can also mention, I just received this today, since Gwyneth mentioned Seminary Lane, there is this week a meeting, that's not working.
Is that on the, zoning?
Yes, it's a community meeting. I'll
Yeah.
email
Yeah, it's about zoning.
information. It's this Thursday.
Okay.
Is that,
Is that the one
is
that
it
Gail
City of
sent?
Gainesville?
Yes, it's the city of Gainesville.
So that's not one that may happen about school zoning.
The school zoning meeting, I believe, is tomorrow evening.
Okay.
And that's a community coalition meeting. I think there will be the superintendent of the school board
Mhm.
is one of the participants. It's not an Alachua County meeting, though.
Okay.
And the Thursday evening meeting is, for the city of Gainesville. It's what they would term a neighborhood workshop meeting, I think, to discuss with the neighborhood this proposal. It went to, the administrative law judge. There was a decision, and I can't speak to any of the details about it.
Okay.
There's a meeting on Thursday, and the community is asking as many people as possible to participate. So I'll share that info with you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. The member announcements were already submitted. I guess we just had the one. I submitted for the homestead. Evans Hale will be doing his Evans and Friends in the backyard of the homestead on May 16th. Possibility we'll have some other, folks, and do a May 15th, but we're not sure about that. But, more to come on that. Okay, our next meeting is April 12th.
Deidre, I apologize. I guess somehow you lost the meeting. Are you back?
Oh, no problem, no problem.
There was
I thought I could hear her. I thought I could hear her.
The person on the bottom.
Adrian.
Adrian.
Can you hear me,
I
Deidre?
thought I could
Right
hear
now?
a faint voice.
Yeah, there.
There she is.
Yeah, lower left.
We're both there.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just thinking about what we're talking about, with the signs in Alachua County, what kind of, do we
Yeah, I
work with
walked
the city
in
of
on that.
Gainesville? Because 2 years ago, when we did Native American Heritage Month, Mayor Poe indicated to me he would like a sign out front of City Hall commemorating the Indians that lived here. So, could we work collaboratively in terms of, I'm thinking the financial aspect of being like, okay, Alachua County, we'll have these county signs in addition, City of Gainesville, we can have this sign? Or does it not work that way?
I don't know that, have we done anything with the city? The,
Not recently. I mean, the Thelma
the-
Bolton sign was completed since I've been working with the group. But
there was
that-
something with the
We've
Crom.
done, there's been a state marker in Roper Park and the Duck Pond also, and the Josiah Walls marker.
Yeah, but those are old.
I know,
Yeah.
those are ones I've written,
So
and they're in the
nothing really recent.
I'm
Yeah.
just suggesting, since he already said we should do this, like a year and a half ago to me, that
Well,
he might be on board of being like, yeah, let's, you know, in terms of funding issues.
I'm sure the county would be more than happy to take city money for
I would think so too.
this.
And then we could work collaboratively instead of just being, I mean, why would we be two entities if we could like
Yeah.
work with each other?
And in that location, it would be perhaps appropriate to have a state historic marker because they already have others in that plaza.
I just don't wanna use it as one of our Alachua County ones, more so, being like, hey, you know, we're in Gainesville, this is, you know, where we meet and all. That can be there, and then it can be like maybe an indicator, like, and then go here. You know?
Yeah, with the QR codes might be a really good idea too.
What's that?
The QR codes are the little.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, babe, I'm on a
and
meeting.
then that will go to tons of other information. So it's because when you're making a lot of those signs, people will not read more than 50 words.
They'll just,
Or
with their phone.
well, if they, the QR codes will also hook you into, like, the verbal tour.
Oh, okay.
So-
Like a cell phone tour?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
thank you.
Evergreen does that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's brilliant.
Yeah,
Getting too
no,
old.
they're
I love those
becoming
things.
all the rage in the way that you convey.
Yeah, I love those things when I go to a museum and you
Right.
can just do
So
my
you
own.
can do that stuff at Washington DC, so each one of the
Yeah.
memorials now has those, so it gives you a lot more information and hooks it all up to one database.
Well,
Getting too
maybe,
old, but okay.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
in April, I'll come back and we'll just talk about what the format would be going forward, like, what place, would I be a private citizen going before the city of Gainesville and saying, hey, or would I be a representative of
Mine were
the-
all done through the Alachua County Historical Commission. And I'm not sure, but I do think at the bottom of every one, even though they're in downtown, it says sponsored by Alachua County Historical Commission.
Yeah,
But you
Okay.
still have to, you just can't put it on city government property
Right.
without their permission. I mean, so you have to coordinate those things with
Right.
them, work with them on
You have to
that.
coordinate the town
Is-
city marker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have committees and stuff, historic preservation, and do they do any sort of,
we,
marker?
historic preservation, we've never done a marker that I've known of. All we just, we're more interested in keeping up buildings, building codes. That's all we do when it comes to that commission. I mean, we talk about getting different buildings on, you know, making sure they're recognized as historic, but we've never done, I've never heard them talk about a marker.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's my understanding that some years ago, maybe when the historic districts in Gainesville were designated and the first historical commission was established, there was some decision that the historical commission would work on the historical research, including markers, and of course, the city of Gainesville is a certified local government, so they have to work on the Secretary of Interior standards and reviews.
Okay,
They did lead me more towards the cultural board as maybe the place to go before rather than the historic preservation.
okay.
And the Historic Preservation Board just regulates in the districts,
Yeah.
so if it's outside of a district, downtown isn't in a district.
Now, are a lot of the historical houses downtown, do those have a designation on them? Like the Spool House, there's that whole section that's right near the Presbyterian Church and Santa Fe grounds, that whole area. I was really surprised to learn that, Jesse Aaron was actually a baker at the Thomas Hotel. So, and
That,
I've lived here my entire life.
his house is on the other side of Sixth Street,
Right,
so that's not a designated historic district.
it should be.
Nope. It should be, exactly.
There's plenty of places we
It's
think
more
should be.
historic now than Pleasant Street, because Pleasant Street has seen so many demolitions.
Right, right.
So Pleasant
But
Street,
in that I thought that was named University Heights.
University Heights is more of the student area. Jesse Aaron's house is still in a theoretically black
okay.
neighborhood. Yeah, University Heights cuts out the area above Fifth Avenue, or Fifth Avenue, including that.
Yeah, 'cause it's the black neighborhood.
Yeah. That's not why, I don't really know, because thematically it didn't go with it. They were doing college, you know, the 1920s
Yeah,
boom area. It should
Yes,
have been.
but the black neighborhood and the railroad predates the University of Florida.
I know, well, that's how Pleasant Street got on, because it's one of the oldest neighborhoods, but they ended it at Sixth Street, because there really wasn't much past that. That was a boom area in the 20s.
So, where would we go from here?
Good
Well, in
question.
terms of Nicole's question, I can check with, our assistant county manager and staff at the city, about possible coordination for a Native American marker or Florida Indian marker at City Hall. If you were talking about Jesse Aaron's house,
That's gone now.
um,
The historic house that used to be over on Seventh Avenue,
oh, the historic house is gone?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's leveled. I think there's students' apartments on it now. There's pictures of it we took in the survey in 1979.
Well, we could start with the, Native American marker.
But, you know, I kind of recommend putting that on this property. This is a county property, you don't even have to deal with the city. It's right diagonally across the street, or, yeah, diagonally, and so then there's no.
So isn't there a new administration building being built at some point? Or did I dream this?
Well, there's been discussion of possible, new administration building, you know, with the pandemic, so much has changed in terms of thinking about office space.
Right.
I don't know where that leaves the idea of a new administration building.
Well, I'm just thinking if there are plans for another one and we put a marker here, then you've gotta move it.
Yeah,
But if it's gone really nowhere now, then,
I can check. I recently saw on Facebook a post by one of the county commissioners indicating that she doesn't think it is necessary, that, you know, there could be an addition on this block to the existing building, but not a complete
Because wasn't
new
a
building.
historic building torn down here to
Was.
build this?
Yeah, the historic courthouse. Someone convinced the county commission that it couldn't be air conditioned, and, therefore we have a modern building now.
okay.
But by age, this building would qualify as historic at this point.
Yeah.
Well,
So, Kathleen, you're gonna talk to the assistant county manager?
I'll find out, I'll try to get some more direction from Gina Peebles.
I mean-
For example, I think the assignment of placing historic markers, it was plural,
Yes, definitely, plural.
to share the information.
And I think Noonan's Lake would be another great
yeah,
spot, I mean,
Yeah.
it's news.
yeah, there's not, that's the one that I'm kind of, meeting out because of working at the museum, helping create the exhibit. I know where all the pieces are to document that, as
Great,
well
yeah.
as the first people that found the pictures of it and the science teacher that took his kids from East Side out and just happened to find
Everett.
that
Steve
when the
Everett.
waters were really low. I was just reading about Orange Lake, how it had drained in 2000, which I was surprised, 'cause that's when 1998 to 2000 is when we found all the canoes out at Noonan's Lake. But it had drained also in the 50s, which I was really surprised about, and just kinda, that was new information to me. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go, Melanie's suggestion, and look at that, and make a note, look at those, get an idea of word count, and, maybe you can message me the name of that other etcher or cartographer or whoever worked with Lemoyne,
Yeah,
and come up with some ideas for next time.
Remember, send messages through me,
Yeah.
please.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
please message
So-
her.
That's
the name of the-
easier.
Yeah, it is
I'm like,
easier.
oh, good.
So, Kathleen, if you could run by the assistant county manager the idea of putting a marker here on this property.
Okay.
I think that would be a good idea, and
Yeah.
and it's,
Yeah,
the
because
And then
city's,
once
the
again,
city's not
kind of
home.
looking like maybe 3 locations around the county, 'cause making it more of a county thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, maybe it'll be, I mean, San Velasco is big property, so I mean, even though it's Gainesville, I guess, the
But
park
there are a
itself.
couple of, Fox Pond is there in San Velasco, Hammock. There are a couple of archaeological sites that we know about that are already there, as well as there at, Lake Walver, as well as the new Cuskawilla. Thank you for
I mean, you
finding
could,
that name. Yeah.
even, you know, visit Gainesville, have a driving tour to go visit these different places. They could turn it into a touristy thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I love that idea about like the, audio. I mean, that's fantastic.
How many of our members actually live in the city of Gainesville?
I do,
1,
Okay.
I do.
2,
and we don't know about the others.
I don't know about
No.
anybody else. Jim lives in
Would we
Waldo.
offer a liaison to the city or something
Adrian,
to get
yeah.
them more involved?
Pardon?
Perhaps a liaison to the city, or have them appoint somebody that communicates regularly with them?
Yeah, I've grown up here and I've lived in the city growing up, and I'm working on all the different places that I've lived in, like McKinney Green Apartments. I've lived in 3 different apartments there, growing up. So, and that's now College Park Apartments. So there's a lot of history that we've got, and so many things have now been put online that you can find, that it's becoming a little bit easier to do this stuff. You don't have to get an appointment and go down to Snappers and.
Exactly. Okay, well, it sounds like we have a plan to get rolling on that. Okay, so, I think we're finished. Since we can't vote, I guess we're adjourned. Bang. My knuckles. Thank you. Thank you all, online and phone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you most interested in the Timucuans or the Seminoles?
I'm definitely Patano and Tamaqua, yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah, so anything you can send to Kathleen, forward to me, that'd be great.